Cognitive impairment and what is commonly called brain fog or fibro fog in conditions like fibromyalgia or long-COVID do have a common underlying mechanism, and that mechanism right now, in my opinion, is around neuroinflammation, a low-grade inflammation that happens between the various nerve circuits in different parts of the brain that are responsible for processing the memory, for registering it, for recall, and this affects the working memory, what the brain does during the daytime. It affects also the attention time that anybody can pay. So often you find that people with brain fog aren't able to concentrate that much as well, and this can have a big impact on all their functions, their day-to-day activities. There are a number of resources that I have myself become aware of and I talk about in terms of managing brain fog. To me, ultimately, the distinction between the various forms of brain fog are academic when it comes to looking after patients. In a clinical setting, generally, what we are interested in is, can we make an objective assessment of how cognitively impaired they are? Now, there are many tests that you will read in literature, and depending on which part of the country or which part of the world you're hearing, there would be many assessments that are done, often by your primary care physician, sometimes by a neuropsychologist, and sometimes by neurologists. There are a variety of batteries or tests that can be done both on paper and even electronic instruments that can be used to achieve this. In my clinical practice, what we use is called the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, the so-called MoCA test, and it's a set of questions that totally come around to a total score of 30. It is quite well established, well validated. You can Google that and you'll see. And what comes out of there is, if the patient scores more than 25, so 26 and above, that's a normal score on the MoCA. If you score between 18 and 25, then it is mild impairment. 10 to 17 is moderate impairment, and less than 10 would constitute a severe cognitive impairment. It's a fairly simple test to do. It takes only 10 minutes, so it can be done in a clinical setting by any professional, and that is a very good way to actually understand how cognitively impaired you are. And that often can give you and your provider, your healthcare provider, some options to look at. The broad set right now for treatment for cognitive impairment is that there are no particular drugs itself. Ultimately, if the underlying issue is a change in the nervous system and a change in the immune system because of this low-grade inflammation, anything that you do in terms of calming the nervous and immune system is likely to make an improvement. And this is something that we've known with chronic fatigue research, is something that we've understood better with fibromyalgia research, and now with long COVID, we have a very good understanding that this is what makes a difference. Indeed, in my clinical practice, for those patients who have recovered from brain fog, it's because they have realized that they need to think about calming the nervous and immune system in a variety of ways. Now, it's easy for me to say this, I know, and it's quite difficult for many patients to do it. The simple thing to do is often, first of all, knowing that how limited is your cognitive attention. Often it's about saying, well, what can you do to batch or break this up? So the first and most important treatment, I would say, is an understanding and being kind and compassionate to yourself to realize that you are having an issue wherein all of those processes of working memory are impacted. So you almost therefore have to have an alternate way of remembering, a kind of second brain, as it were, to do this. And one of the most common ways that my patients think about and do, and what we suggest to them, is the use of a digital note or a to-do list or some kind of paper-based list system, so that you have that as a constant reminder just in case you forget or that working memory is there. It might be something as simple as having post-it notes at various parts on your fridge or on the hob or near your bedside table, so that it becomes a reminder at that point of time to finish doing a task that you started. That's probably one of the first important things. The second important thing is the attention to what can be used to calm the immune system down. And that leads me on to saying a good focus on stress management strategies and nutrition, because both these will provoke and sensitize the immune system. Attention to nutrition, eating a good diet at the time when you eat, how much you eat, is all going to be relevant. Similarly, stress management strategies, from breathing techniques or techniques to stimulate the vagus nerve that can calm down and provide stress relief, take you into a soothe cycle, again a very useful strategy. And the third one is, what do you do to calm the nervous system down? And that means that you need to bring down the sensitization in the nervous system so that you can actually start improving various parts of the memory. This can be as important as sleep hygiene, so all the facts and various activities you can do to improve your sleep. Because once you improve your sleep, as you remember from the previous video, you give time for the short-term memory to be archived into long-term memory. So that makes a very fundamental importance and change to the recall element and the archiving element of it. So sleep hygiene helps there. Aerobic activity and exercise, we know, changes and builds new nerve circuits. So that means it's an important way of physical activity, in a way of actually clearing out some of the changes, the old nerve circuits, and building new ones there. And then of course there is a lot of importance in using other ways of calming the system down by using such measures like going in a group, or social support, relationships. These are all simple lifestyle measures, but you see that they can make a big difference in calming an immune and nervous system. When you've done all these elements, there are these days lots of supplements, and the studies and the research is looking at what kind of drug or what kind of supplement could be used to boost it up. So there are products that actually boost the mitochondria, because if you can improve the energy factories of the cell, you potentially can make a difference. There are supplements like N-acetylcysteine and guafenicin, which can also improve brain fog in many patients there. I often recommend one book called How to Beat Brain Fog by Sabine Brennan. I did a podcast with her about a year or two ago, and she is a neuroscientist who's recovered from brain fog, and she writes about her experience, and a lot of what she describes is potentially doable in a 4 to 5 week period. So check that out there. I'll put the link in the video below and the resource section. But I hope this has given you a good idea of why and what you can do about brain fog, and what are the treatments for cognitive impairment right now, and what we are doing to manage and help and support our patients. Thank you for listening to this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it of value. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel, and click on the bell button to be notified when the next video comes along.